So, what if I told you that some of the best advice for a balanced modern life comes from a group famous for being, well, the complete opposite of balanced? Today, we're going to look past all the stereotypes to uncover the really surprising wisdom of the Puritans.
When you hear the word Puritan, what's the first image that pops into your head? It's probably someone super stern, dressed all in black, and basically allergic to fun, right? Yeah, that's the caricature we've all kind of been taught.
But here's the thing that caricature totally misses the most fascinating part of their story. The Puritans were actually masters of a concept that we're all still chasing today balance. They weren't about rigid extremes at all. Their genius was in holding these profound, often competing truths in a perfect, dynamic tension. All right, so let's dive into their first big lesson in balance. And it's all about the delicate dance between the head and the heart, between what we know intellectually and what we really experience emotionally. Okay, this is where it gets really interesting. For the Puritans, you have objective truth, the stuff you learn with your mind. They thought of this as the essential food for faith. But just like food, it's pretty useless if you don't actually digest it. And that's where subjective experience comes in, making those ideas real in your own life. They saw a ton of danger in separating the two. If you rely only on your mind, you could fall into legalism, just a rigid, joyless focus on rules. But if you rely only on your heart, you could end up just deceiving yourself. They knew you absolutely needed both to be a whole person.
And you can really see this comfort they had with paradox right here. They held two massive ideas at the same time. First, there's the concept of God's sovereignty, that a higher power is ultimately in control of the big picture. But, and this is a huge but, at the exact same time, they championed human responsibility, the belief that you are 100% accountable for your choices. So, how do you solve that contradiction? Well, here's the thing. They didn't. They saw them as parallel truths, kind of like train tracks that only seem to merge way off at the horizon. The goal was never to resolve the paradox, but to live productively right there in the middle of that tension.
The great preacher Charles Spurgeon, who kind of inherited this way of thinking, he put it perfectly. When someone asked him how he reconciled these two big ideas, he just said, "I didn't know that friends needed reconciliation." What a powerful image, right? These concepts aren't enemies at war with each other, they're friends working together in partnership. So this whole idea of holding two things in tension, it leads us straight into their next lesson. And wow, is this one relevant today? It's all about balancing your deeply held personal convictions with the crucial need for unity. I mean, we all face this, don't we? At work, with family, online. When do you stand your ground on a core belief, and when do you compromise a little to maintain harmony? It can feel absolutely impossible, but the Puritans actually came up with a practical framework to navigate it. A leading Puritan thinker, a guy named William Perkins, laid out this really clear two-step guide. Step 1, value community. Don't let minor disagreements break apart important relationships. But step 2, and this is so crucial, do the hard work of defining what's truly essential to you. You have to draw a clear line in the sand between the foundational truths you just won't compromise on and the secondary issues where it's okay to disagree. It's a total masterclass in how to engage with others on principle. Okay, and this brings us to our third and final lesson, making your beliefs practical. The Puritans had very little patience for abstract ideas that just stayed in your head. They were obsessed with one question. How does this actually work on a Monday morning? And the crucial point here is this. They completely rejected the wall that we often build between the sacred and the secular parts of our lives. To them, your work, your family, your hobbies, it was all one unified arena where you lived out your core beliefs. It wasn't just for Sunday, it was for everything. And just look at how practical this got. I mean, this wasn't some abstract philosophy class. They wrote detailed guides on pretty much everything, from how to pray and manage your finances to raising kids and conducting your professional life. Their goal was always to connect every big idea to what they called uses, which are basically just practical applications that turn belief into effective, real-world action. The scholar J.I. Packer captured their goal perfectly here. They aimed for a devotion that was, quote, conscientious without becoming obsessive, law-oriented without lapsing into legalism. There it is again, right? That constant, deliberate search for balance, carefully steering between the extremes. So what's the ultimate takeaway from all of this? If we strip away the stereotypes, what can the Puritans really teach us today? Well, it all comes down to one really powerful idea: the pursuit of a truly holistic and integrated life. Just think back to those 3 core lessons we talked about. First, we saw how they balanced truth, right? Uniting the head and the heart. Second, they balanced their principles, knowing when to stand firm and when to build unity. And finally, they balanced their lives, weaving their core beliefs into every single day-to-day action.
When you put it all together, you really start to see their true vision. It was never about being stern or joyless. It was about this radical pursuit of integrity, of crafting a life where what you believe, what you think, and what you do are all seamlessly woven together, working in perfect harmony.
And that leaves us with a final challenge. The key word for the Puritans was intentional. They didn't just hope for balance, they built a strategy for it. So the question to take with you is this. Looking at your own life, your work, your relationships, your beliefs, where could you be more intentional about finding that same kind of balance?